What's up, y'all? Goofy Rexy here. Hope everybody is doing well. And we're back at that time of the month again where we're going to be doing a roster review here. There's so many things that are going on in Marvel Strike Force. There's this War Scourge event. There's changes with Cosmic Crucible, which are bananas. And there's Famine Scourge coming in a couple months from now. So many things to focus down on. So want to kind of dive into my roster here to talk about what I've been doing over the past, couple weeks, what I'm currently working on now. And to do this with me this time, I figured some of you guys mentioned this, that, you really should have somebody else look at your roster, review your video, review your roster with you, and kind of get their insight. So guess what? Here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Dorky Dad is here. Welcome to the channel, man. It's the first of many roster reviews that we'll be doing here on this channel. Good to have you, man. How you been?
I'm doing good, man. We've been trying to work this out for a while now. I'm excited to actually get to do it, and I'm real hopeful. I'm gonna roast the roast master here. That's what we're going for today.
Trust me, there's plenty of things to roast. Even though I roast other players' rosters, there's always a lot of things to roast on mine. So this is probably gonna be a pretty good one. But yeah, so many things to talk about. We can kind of just dive over into the roster a little bit here. I got a couple favorites, and we can talk a little bit about sort of what I'm working on. But I guess where do you want to start? Where should we go?
I don't know, because you got so many teams favorited up here. I don't know what you're trying to work on. So it looks like Gamma is definitely on the radar, right? We're leveling up our Gamma. What's your main use for them right now? Because I know you're not super big into War.
Yeah, so I'm not super big into War right now, but with this War Scourge event, right, we got the nodes last week, and we saw what those first two ones look like in terms of the bio section, and I realized that I'm kind of limited where that's concerned if I want to have make any sort of headway in some other nodes, because otherwise I'm going to end up using Squirrel Girl and Miss Marvel, who I don't really want to use in 1 and 2. So I feel like I have to pivot a little bit here and start to work a little bit on Gamma. But the reality is I don't think I'm going to be able to get them up in time, or maybe I will be, but probably towards the end of the Scourge event. So that's the reason why I have Hulk and She-Hulk favorited here. I'm thinking though, like what I'm probably going to lean into is doing like a lower difficulty, maybe difficulty 6, right? And then just get Red Hulk and build him up and then use him on like a hybrid team,
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, Hulk, because he can be used on 5 and 10 too. So he's like the safest of the safe to invest in. So difficulty 6, what kind of star is that going to net you on Red Hulk?
Yeah, so that's going to give me, it's just for the initial run, just to be able to unlock him. And then later on, we're probably going to do like a difficulty 8 run, equip a couple Scourges, but that's why I really want him, right? Because I want him on those higher runs where I will equip those Scourges, because I know that those are going to be a lot more challenging then.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, like a 3 yellow, 0 red star Red Hulk will blow the water out of a Brawn, no matter how many reds and yellows you have on them. So that makes sense. Yeah. And then yeah, with nodes 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4, they kind of bleed together, right? The Avengers with the bio. Yeah, I can see where you're going for with that. That makes sense. Yeah. What else we got? Why we got A-Force, Mark, though? You're not a War character.
So I'm not a War person at all. But listen, A-Force, they're kind of like my guinea pigs for farming gear right now. So I'm very low. I'm pretty decently low on Mystic gear. So Nico's just there for some farming. Same with Spider-Woman. We're kind of depleting our bio gear right now. But I do have some alternative goals for him. Although I'm not crazy into War, they are better, and there is sort of some comps that I want to test out a little bit with them, and I've been hearing some good news using A-Force against some Dorky teams, so I'm hoping that eventually I might be able to build them up there. Now, like I said, I'm not really a big War person, but there are certain teams. I'm an emotional player, okay? I'm a very emotional player, and sometimes I just like to build characters because I like them and I think they're cool, and that's kind of why I'm like, I'll favorite Nico and Spider-Woman. I'll farm some gear, use them to farm some gear, but in the future, definitely want to be able to work on them. And then, of course, as you can see here, too, there's like Sunfire, Dazzler, Phantom X. The Saga's coming up soon, so we're just trying to get ourselves at least prepared mentally to have to invest into this team, because I think we're going to need at least G16, right, to be able to get through. If anything was like what Pestilence was, I'm thinking Famine, we may have to follow the same suit, having at least a couple G16 characters.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy. I don't think you're going to be beating difficulty 3 with that Sunfire and that Dazzler, because like you said, the Pestilence Saga was intense.
Yep.
On difficulty 3. That's exactly like you said. Like you need to build them up to like level 90, gear tier 16 probably, and then maybe you can get away with having less reds and yellows on them. But yeah, man, that's gonna be tough. Yeah, you got Web Weaver here. How you liking her?
Yeah, Web Weaver's actually a lot of fun. I've been able to use her in some comps in Arena to beat some teams there. Of course, if you guys don't know, me and Dorky Dad are in the same arena charts, so it gets quite interesting sometimes. There are some times where I'm able to beat his teams, but I'm not really heavy in arena. To do I usually only get 2 attacks in by the time resets happens. I still do all my 5 attacks per day. It's just that the timing of when it ends is just never really convenient for me. But yeah, I've been able to use her on like a comp with Kestrel, with Rogue, Morgan Le Fay, to be I think I beat a Dormhole team with it today, and then there was like another like hybrid comp that I used it with, but there was another Dormhole comp that I tried Spider Weaver with, and then Morgan just yeeted her off the planet, so therefore that just ended quickly.
Yeah, she's got to get rolling before she's safe for sure.
Exactly, she definitely needs her ult first before she kind of can do anything of meaningful use.
Yeah, that's dope. What else we got working with? What else you got favorited?
Yeah, so that's pretty much basically that's what I'm working on right now. I mean, there are, so what we didn't talk about is sort of like my goals for the War Scourge, right? So for Red Hulk, what I'm going to be shooting for is a 5-star. That's usually kind of what I shoot for the most part. I think Scourge is an interesting game mode for players who really want to push at it. For someone like myself, I feel like that is not as fun for me. So therefore I don't really push that hard for Scourge. And so therefore I'm like, if I get a 5-star, I'm completely content with that. That's enough for me to be able to push and do end game content, be able to get them the 5 reds. That's perfect for me. Once to get like 6 and 7 star or 7 stars with my roster is probably not really possible, but to try to even get 6 stars, it's a little too intensive and takes too much time. So for me, the goal is let's get a 5-star, which is basically difficulty 8 with a couple Scourges. Now, I talked a little bit about like potentially skipping Note 10, and you were kind of cautioning against that a little bit, right? Like why, like maybe not doing that, because I do feel like Note 10 is going to be very difficult with basically bio armor. So like, I mean, what I'm thinking about is, okay, well, I'll get my Red Hulk. I'll go to difficulty 8, equip a couple Scourges. We'll do a difficult run there with our teams, and then we'll just do Note 9, and then we'll stop at Note 9. We won't even go to Note 10 because Note 10 is going to be way too crazy. But you're thinking like, hey, you're leaving some points on the board. But I'm just thinking there's going to be a lot of players who are like me who probably won't even be able to get through Note 10.
Yeah. So Note 10, Note 5 looks hard but doable. Note 10 looks intense, and it looks like if you do a burner attack, you're just kind of like prepping the enemy team just to blast you after that. But Scopely did come out and say something a little wonky that's being interpreted different ways. But my understanding is that they're changing it so that the points you get for doing a lower difficulty are even to the points you get for doing the higher difficulty, and Scourges matter more. Yep. So if you need to drop down to difficulty 7 or difficulty 6 and put on a bunch of Scourges, and that's going to give you more points than doing difficulty 7 or 8 if you're only doing 9 out of the 10 nodes. I think that's what they're trying to force people to do. But that's like kind of speculation, because the way they worded it and the way they changed things on the fly in our faces after telling us things are going to be one way, then they're the opposite. Yeah, I don't know. I would just be like, get ready, because you might get caught off guard.
Yeah, so it's something to pay attention to. Something that I'm taking a look at right now, where I think it's going to be basically just watching the leaderboards, right? Like seeing where players are landing. I usually top 10,000 is what you need for a 5-star. I'm usually like top 4,000 for the Scourge events, which is usually fine for me. So I think we'll be okay as long as we can kind of get through some of the other nodes. So these are the teams that I'm going to be using for Scourge, at least initially. I think this team right here, I'm definitely saying no to anymore, just based on what the nodes look like. Web Warriors are going to be just not going to be great, right?
Trash.
I think this was what I was thinking about initially, just for like the early run, and then once we get Red Hulk, we're probably going to swap out a character here, and then use Hulk with Squirrel Girl, JJ. Of course, you see what I'm doing here, right? Like the ability energy, the cleanse. I'm keeping Squirrel Girl sort of mushed in between the other protectors because I want her to get her turn meter. I want her to be able to heal, keep the team topped up. And then once we get Red Hulk, we'll probably take out Miss Marvel. But that's kind of like my idea is like using a sort of a hybrid Gamma team with Red Hulk, and if we can even get Abomination or Brawn built up in time, we may not even use Squirrel Girl. We may just use JJ just for the ability, energy, and the cleanse.
Yeah, you might be looking at, if you do take Squirrel Girl out, having to slap a couple extra healer ISOs out there.
Yeah,
maybe one on She-Hulk, and then you can do like a Raider or a Striker on Red Hulk, because he's going to have a little bit less life with that 3 yellow, no red, right?
Yeah.
But he's still going to smack. I think he's still going to smack really hard if you got T4s and everything on him.
Right.
I see what you're going for here. It makes sense.
Yeah. And
it's really interesting seeing how you have to be much more clever than I have to be. I just get to smash. I go to a tag and I'm like, pick these 5 characters and go. You're like making notes and doing math and trying to figure this out. Yeah, this is very interesting. I don't envy you. I'm much more comfortable.
Yeah, and you see the reason why I'm like, look at my roster. I can't do those I could do like I know for a fact I could get a 6-star if I wanted to, right? It's just a matter of the time and the thought process I would have to go into it and how much of my roster would I have to utilize in order to be able to do it. To me, it's just that kind of eliminates the fun out of all things here. And then of course, like the Avengers nodes, this is going to be like the cleanup team on node 4. We're planning on using Bionic Avengers for nodes 3 and node 4, but I know that they won't be able to clear node 4 because of that Gamma team. They'll be able to do decently well, but we're going to have to use Young Avengers here. But we're going to swap in and probably take out Chavez and use Thor for that cleanup when we do it, because we want to build up Thor's ult to make sure that he can. So the idea for me, this is what I'm going to be doing in node 5. My Hero Ice Guardian team, I'm going to take out Heimdall. I'm going to put in Star-Lord T'Challa. I'm going to use Star-Lord T'Challa to blind and steal ability energy away from Omega Red. If I did this right, Thor would be available with his ultimate. Going to hopefully be able to stun Wong, stun String Heartless, stun Psylocke, and then the bonus would be Omega Red at that point. And then we should gain a little bit more control once we kind of start out that node. But if that doesn't work, then we're kind of screwed, because we haven't built up Ravagers, nor have we built up other Wave 1 Avenger characters that are not Thor, Iron Man, or Hulk, right? So it's going to get a little dicey there at that point.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You might need to check the speed between Thor and Wong. I do think Wong is super slow.
But so is Thor.
Yeah, it's tough. He shouldn't. I mean, he's the god of thunder, man. Lightning's quick.
He's 90, and I think Wong is 88. If I'm not mistaken, there's a possibility that might be the case.
Okay, hopefully. And then and if that's the case, great, because there's no Morgan, there's no giving him speed. Yeah. So that sounds dope. That's smart. Yeah, I'm doing something similar, charging up Thor. Yeah, right. I think that's like going to be the optimal plan. And then everything else, BlueStacks is terrible, but everything else is. I mean, villains is like, this is simple. You got Morgan, you got Dormammu there. If we need another team, like maybe we want to save this for Node 7, then we might use this team instead. This was just something fun that I wanted to do at like a lower level using Thanos, because Thanos is kind of cool. Then skill is fairly simple. It's your skill raid team. Maybe we'll throw in Moondragon in the first node, and then of course we're kind of back. This was something that was tested in war. Don't worry about that. That number looks so sad to me.
It is. I mean, look at these 2 characters right here. Just not good at all, man. So
purple rings, man. Purple rings.
It's just
I forgot about them.
It takes me so long. So I keep a very limited amount, or I spend a very limited amount of gold every single day. It's like 1.5 million gold a day is what I spend, or 1.5 million gold a day on characters, and then usually look to spend another 700k on items in the store. So I'm very strict when it comes to what I'm spending on. So it does take me a little time to get characters where I want them to be.
Fair enough. All right, so look, you're clearly working hard on your War Scourge right now.
Yeah.
But with that out the way, what about your other modes? Like, we got Crucible coming up. You've been working on your Crucible teams?
Yeah, so I'll show you what I have on defense. It's nothing special, right? I mean, listen. What are we doing here, right? Well, I'll show you what I'm kind of using on defense right now, and there are going to be some changes that are here because once we finally get Spider Weaver built up a little bit more, we're going to be swapping her out here. But being that this is like I did not click on that, by the way. Being that this is this BlueStacks is terrible. Being that we are in the age of X. Sort of kind of what I'm doing right now on defense is just I threw in this mutant team with Uncanny and Magic. I took out Cyclops here and I'm going to be using Iceman. I feel like that's going to give me a little bit more control or a little bit more dynamic, at least at my level, by having Iceman there as opposed to Cyclops. Cyclops can also throw taunt on the wrong character, which is really annoying. So I feel like Iceman is a little bit better there. Here Eyes Guardians, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is, right? Here, I don't want to keep this team here. Ideally, I would actually prefer it to not use Scarlet Spider or Miles. We'll probably maybe swap in. It's going to be Tangled Web, right? It's going to be Tangled Web, Kingpin, and probably Mr. Negative whenever they actually come out. We're going to throw in Spider Weaver here once we finally get her to gear tier 14, eventually 16. But that's going to be sort of a work in progress. This here, Global Heroes, you kind of get the idea. Some of the Global Hero characters, Shuri with Maria Hill, there's a little bit of synergy with the deflects and the heals. Zemo can ability block the wrong character. You get the slows out there. Shang-Chi is a jerk. So that could get really interesting. And then here, of course, I like JJ a lot, but I wanted to smush in Hulk. Hulk's in a taunt early enough. Where you're kind of smushing yourself, like smushing Doom right here, where if he gets any sort of adjacent hits, gets below 50%, that could get dynamic and dangerous. There's also a little bit of synergy from what I remember too with She-Hulk. I may be thinking about that wrong. Spider-Woman here, once again, it's just kind of one of those plug characters that I may swap out. This is going to be a full Gamma team eventually, right? This is just more how do we make Gamma work while we don't have the full team. And then this right here, I think is going to be really dangerous.
Who hurt you, Goofy? Who hurt you to do this to people?
I'm just really mad at I'm really mad sometimes. So this there's no really explanation that's needed here. I want to see somebody try to use Unlimited X-Men against that. That's going to make me chuckle.
Yeah, it's gonna get pretty brutal. That's like, oh yeah, especially a slap fight between Unlimited and that, especially if that's around, they do the same kind of power level. Yeah, that can get brutal.
Honestly, don't use Cable. You're gonna give Terminator to Jubilee. It's just all the X-Men. Just don't be careful.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Honestly, looking at your defense right now makes me wonder why I care to be up in the Masters, because this fighting you looks so much more fun than fighting the people I see. This, to me, this would be a day off, Goofy. Like, what are we doing here?
Listen, now, to be fair, fighting this defense at my power level is going to be tough, right? Like somebody who's at the same power level as me, this is not like room 6, room 4 are going to trip you up a little bit, and room 5 if you're not careful.
Yeah, room 5, you can shoot yourself in the foot by getting that Doom to pop off. Nah, I'm just upset now that I got to fight with you every day in top 10 arena, and then you over here sandbagging it down here like this, though.
Yeah, and of course, what I have on offense is definitely sufficient enough to be able to get through most of it. Even if I see the same defenses, the only issue I'll have is probably room 6. Like, that's the 2-tap.
That's going to be everybody, though. That room 6 looks like not fun at all to deal with.
Yeah, not at all, man. What else? What else could I go through for you?
All right, I need a good laugh, Goofy. I need to see your Underworld team.
That's just brutal, man. Why would you do this to me?
Hey, they are a new team in the patch. You need to show me your Underworld team.
That's just rude. Oh, okay. I'll show it to you for the giggles.
All right, wait. Let me make a prediction. Kingpin level 1. Show it.
Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite. But pretty close. This is my Underworld team right now.
Oh, the blue rings. Look, that's like 300k gold. He might as well be level 1. Look at 1030.
Yeah. I'm actually really looking forward to the Ultimus frags here. Once I finally rank him up to 7, I can really use those. Hopefully there's some good characters in there by then.
Best way to farm Eternals is the Ultimus Orb.
This Ultimus Orb at this point. But honestly, I really like Underworld. I'm thinking about... So... The tough part about Underworld is just really the investment needed to invest into this team, right? Like some of these characters are really expensive. For them to be usable for me, it's gear tier 15 or bust, right? So Green Goblin would have to go to G15. So would Taskmaster. So would Nobu, Kingpin, in order for them to be able to work. So it's for me at this point, I'm just looking at this and I'm like, all right, well, Nobu's Mystic. I don't want to spend any sort of G14 gear on him. The G15s are fine, but not the G14s. Green Goblin, I don't want to spend the G14s on him either. He's 90 pieces per, so that's going to get really dicey. So I think realistically, the only characters that I might consider here is probably Kingpin. And if I were to consider another Mystic character, maybe Mr. Negative. But I'm thinking it's going to be Kingpin for a long time because Spider Weaver is also Mystic too, right? And then of course you have Spider-Man Noir. Cosmic Crucible is probably becoming the second most important game mode to me right now. So I'm starting to see that I'm sort of kind of like leaving War alone, apart from maybe like one fun team that I want to work on with for me right now is A-Force. And then really it's just trying to focus on trying to build teams off of Cosmic Crucible, which is the reason why you see a limited favorited. You're going to see Kingpin favorite. I didn't favorite Kingpin yet because I wanted you to call it out. But I was going to favorite Kingpin too, just to work on him. So it's going to be pretty. It's going to be like Cosmic Crucible is just so important right now in MSF.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's also the most fun because it's like the only game mode besides Arena, I guess, where you're in full control of what you're able to do. And no one's dictating to you teams you got to build, nothing like that. You can kind of do what you want to do. Like if you wanted to be like, screw it, I want to build Wakanda, where you could do that because that's you're going to get benefit from it. Yeah. And your alliance will get a defense team on Wars. They may not care. And it's just, you feel like more in control. I do appreciate you showing me this Kingpin though. This makes me happy.
Some Ultimate Frags coming in my future. All right, guys. So is that it? I feel like that's for the most part, that's it, right? We could have talked about War, but I think we'll probably save that for another time because we'd spent so much time on War Scourge and that kind of took up our time here. So maybe next time we'll talk a little bit more about War.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to next time already. This was fun.
Yeah, definitely, man. So I appreciate you being here. What are your guys' thoughts? This is the first time that we're doing this video here, so I always want to know what would you guys like to see in the future in terms of how we go do these roster reviews. Check out Dorky Dad's channel. That's where we just did a video there as well, where we talked about teams and how he's approaching War Scourge and what he's going to be working on. So go check out that channel. Go check out that video. I'll link it down in the description. But Dorky, thank you for being here, man. Much love. I appreciate it. And we got to do this again. What, another month?
Yeah, man. Every patch we should check in, see what we're working on, see who we think are the winners and losers of the patch, what modes we're feeling at the time.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're gonna have a tower soon, so we may be able to touch on that next time.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, appreciate it. Until next time, guys. Y'all be blessed. Y'all be safe.